welcome. This is a narrated experience report source from arua.org, a public archive of psychoactive experience reports shared for educational and harm reduction purposes. This video is not an endorsement, not medical advice, and does not encourage illegal activity. Listener discretion is advised. I ended up taking much more than intended. This experience was submitted under the username SuperSharpshooter. Reported age, not given. Reported gender, female. The substances involved in this experience include alcohol, MDMA. What follows is the original experience, with minimal edits for clarity. Be careful mixing. I had used ecstasy several times before and enjoyed its effects very much, but last summer messed up somewhat. If I hadn't happened to be in a very safe environment amongst close friends, I don't know what might have happened. I'm very lucky that this happened to be the situation. To cut a long story short, having looked forward to this music event for a long time, my group of friends and I had all planned to take MDMA that night and had arranged supply beforehand. I was very excited on the day. My big mistake was that I ended up getting very drunk before going. Probably over the course of the afternoon and evening leading up to the event, I drank something like a bottle of wine and several large gin and tonics with my flatmate before going. Added to this, I had very little to eat all day, little more than a small bowl of couscous, which of course added to my drunkenness. Here's the cautionary bit: because of the lack of self-control that excessive alcohol consumption brings on, I ended up taking much more MDMA than I had intended to. Because of the lack of self-control that excessive alcohol consumption brings on, I ended up taking much more MDMA than I had intended to. I'm not entirely sure how much, but definitely upwards of 3 pills worth in one go. I usually stick with just one, so this was quite a jump for me. As a result of this, I remember very little of the evening indeed. I was separated from my friends for most of the night. If I hadn't been in such a safe environment then, really, I could have ended up in God knows what sort of horrible situation, as I really have no recollection of what I was doing for almost all of the evening. My friends and I managed to find each other when it was time to leave, and my first memory of the whole evening is leaving the event and going home. I woke up the next morning with the insides of my mouth ripped to shreds. I'd clearly been chomping my teeth very hard all night. When I have used X before without excessive alcohol consumption, I am usually quite aware of my jaw movements. I make some attempt to control them or use scum. This night, I was clearly in no state to do any such thing, and as a result it was extremely painful to eat for about the next week or so. As a result of excessive alcohol use beforehand and subsequent excessive ecstasy use, what was supposed to be a really enjoyable night with my mates turned into something I can't remember in the slightest, and a lot of mouth pain for the next week. I'd suggest that if you're going to drink before you use E, then be moderate. The loss of self-control that alcohol induces caused me to be less than discerning in the amount of drugs that I took. This was MDMA powder, which is difficult to dose if you don't sort it out into wraps, and this meant that I did not have as much fun as I thought you would. Experiences like this can be deeply personal and unpredictable, and are influenced by mindset, environment, and many other factors. If you choose to explore altered states of consciousness, education, preparation, and harm reduction are essential. Thank you for listening.